AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yusuf. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Shea Dixon in 15 minutes. Jeff Duncan in hour 3. Saints report for camp day at the practice field tomorrow. Mickey Loomis talking to reporters as we speak. We had a ton to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
A Big Ten Media Days kicking off. Tony Petitti, the State of the Conference address. We'll get to that here in just a quick second. But as Mickey Loomis is at the podium, one maybe really significant note as far as some personnel moves. Ross Jackson with this over on Twitter, at Ross Jackson NOLA. A defensive tackle, Keyshawn Silver, and wide receiver Mason Tipton are placed on PUP. That's physically unable to perform, so they will not be there on the field when they hit practice field tomorrow. And then tight end Cody Hardy and defensive tackle Xavier Harris have been placed on the NFI list. That's non-football injury list. Harris is a little disappointing. It's the undrafted free agent out of Ole Miss, giant dude, 6'8", 330, and one I was really looking forward to keeping an eye on. So we'll see when he returns. And then Jordan Tyson, Kendre Miller, good to go as far as are everyone else. So we'll see Jordan Tyson and Kendre Miller on the field when the Saints hit the practice field on Wednesday. So Tony Petitti, Big Ten commissioner, opens up Big Ten Media Days with his State of the Conference address. As you might imagine, a lot of conversation with the SEC interwoven, especially with what happened last week with Greg Sankey addressing the rumors of a potential SEC breakaway and operating independently. And Petitti was asked about the perception that the Big Ten is at odds with the SEC. Here's what he said.
The first thing I'll say about, working with the SEC on the playoff and working with Greg specifically, I've never heard him say that he won't do the work and consider 24. I mean, he's been public about certain preferences he has, but he's committed himself to doing the work around all formats. And we've done the same thing. We have strong opinions about where the right path is.
So that's a very political way of saying we disagree, but we're trying not to disagree because they need to find an amicable solution, and we'll see ultimately when that happens. But he also was asked to elaborate a bit more on the relationship between the two conferences.
We're taking on some of the most complicated things that have happened in the space, and we're doing it together every single day. I literally have talked to Greg Sankey more than 5 times already this morning about the bill. And that goes on lots of issues. Like, at the end of the day, we very early in the job when we first started to get to know each other, it was like, hey, we're not always going to agree, but we're going to do it in a way where we're transparent and we're respectful, and we'll just fight hard for our leagues and go from there. So I would say, I think people point to the playoff and try to make it something bigger than it is. Like, they're doing what they think is best, and we're doing what we think is best, and we'll see where it evolves to over time. I don't think there's that much daylight at the end of the day.
I love that. Civil discourse is a great thing in life, and it's something that oftentimes, especially in internet culture, is lost, where everyone has to yell and scream and be angry all the time. You can disagree on things, and you can still have civil discourse and get along and compromise, and that's a productive way to come to solutions. And hopefully that's what the SEC and the Big Ten do, because they are the drumbeat. I mean, they are going to lead the pack in whatever change comes to college football, and clearly what they agree on, what these two agree on, is they do not want to stay at 12 teams in the playoff. They want to expand. Now, they don't necessarily agree on how to go about doing that, but hopefully they find a compromise with their common ground. Now, a couple of other things Tony Petitti discussed. Remember, a week ago, and actually it's interesting because this morning I did an interview with Bo Bishop, who does mornings in Columbus, Ohio, really great radio station there in Columbus. And they're doing a feature of the 20 most interesting teams in college football. And so today they featured LSU, and he asked me to come on the show, so we chatted. And it was interesting because part of the conversation was about the SEC potentially breaking away and operating autonomously. And that on the heels of what Greg Sankey was asked a week ago at SEC Football Media Days, where he was asked if those were real conversations. And I think part of Greg Sankey's response has been misinterpreted. He said, yes, they're real, but meaning real to the extent that they happened. Real and likely are maybe different things, but you read it in a headline and you assume certain things. I don't believe it is necessarily likely. Greg Sankey also said that, meaning that the SEC operates independently. So just to be clear, when we talk about that, what they're effectively saying is that the SEC would break away from the NCAA and just operate independently. It would be a 16-team football league, and it would crown its own national champion, and it would just be the SEC playing the SEC. It'd do its own TV deal, et cetera. And that's not good for college football, and I don't think anybody wants that. You want to have a national sport that is not just regional to the Southeast. You want to have these intersectional games and rivalries and all that sort of stuff. So I do believe, however, and I've said this many times over the years, over the last 15 years, quite literally, that I do believe we will see the day when college football operates independent of the NCAA. It's funny that a lot of people are talking about it now. We've literally been talking about that since 2011 when that first giant round of realignment happened back then. Because I do believe and have always believed that is an inevitability. And it feels more and more inevitable. But I don't think it's going to be just the SEC. I think it'll be the SEC and the Big Ten and at those schools, and then other like select schools from other leagues that actually have some brand value, can afford to play in this super league, whatever they're going to call it, however it might exist. But here was Petitti reacting to the talks of the SEC breaking away from a week ago.
I think what you hear about, like, it's not breakaway, but is there another path where if you can't solve it in the bill and you can't solve it with your colleagues, is there some path where you have to have conference-based rules? That's not necessarily breaking away. That doesn't mean you're not going to play anybody else. But is there a path to have rules that we can at least operate from the conference? That's also really difficult. But to your question, we absolutely have to do everything we can to prepare for every one of those things. So while we're focusing on the bill, we have teams of people that are trying to set the groundwork of, well, if we don't get the bill, what happens with the CSC and how it operates?
You understand, while it's not a yes, it's also not a no. And that's the key point. When the door is ajar, even ever so slightly, it leaves open the possibility of change. It's the same thing that when college football went from the BCS to a 4-team playoff. You can say you're not going past 4, but when the door is open and you went to 4, it was open to go to 12 and then to 16 and to 24. The door is open. It's not closed. Apply this to anything. Think about the coaching searches we talked about. Dan Lanning said, point blank, I'm not leaving Oregon. As long as I win, we'll be here. The door is shut. There is no ambiguity in what he said. We always talk about denials and non-denials, and I was thinking about Kiffin. All the times he was asked about leaving Ole Miss, had a contract extension on the table. He didn't sign it. He didn't say no. He wasn't saying yes to anybody else, but he wasn't saying no, which meant the door was open for that decision. It's the same thing here. And one more from Petitti. He was asked to go through contingencies if the SEC broke away.
I would say the focus is sort of like in stages. So the first thing we were focused on is getting the bill right. It's taking up a tremendous amount of time. While we're doing that, I think if the bill can address some of the changes we need to make to the CSC and NIL Go and the way the House settlement operates, if we can't get that help in the bill, then I think the first place you go is with our colleagues in the other conferences. SEC, ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, also a defendant, and the NCAA. Like how do we come together to make the necessary changes to the way the settlement is operating, so we can give our athletic directors, our coaches, our student athletes, a system that seems to be more sustainable and more predictable. It's not the fault of the CSC. They're a startup. They're trying to implement the rules we put in front of them. We've got to look at what the behavior is.
He's giving you the answer to the test. He's telling you the NCAA can't do this. So if Congress doesn't get the Protect College Sports Act passed, then we're just going to go do it ourselves. And he said, not just us, but us, the SEC, the ACC, et cetera. They're going to go operate independently of the NCAA. That's where we are. I'll say it again. That is an inevitability. We are heading to that end in college football. Whether it's good or bad, time will tell. All right, it's after further review. We'll talk more about what Tony Petitti had to say today. Kyle Whittingham was on the Rich Eisen show and had a pretty bold call for a Super League, actually. We'll get to that. Brett Bielema stoking the SEC, a place where he could just never win anything, which is funny in and of itself. But we'll get to all that as we continue. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with a great taste. Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of your Fighting Tigers of LSU, and the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. Saints hit the practice field on Wednesday for the start of training camp. As we inch closer to the beginning of Saints football season, make sure you drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints, the official beer of your Fighting Tigers of LSU. Remember, they got the officially licensed cans for LSU and the Saints that are on store shelves right now. If you want to grab them, snag them. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. Okay, it is After Further Review. Tuesday shows powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Quick break. Every Tuesday, we talk Cruton with Shea Dixon. Looking forward to that. What's the latest with Easton Royal? These vague tweets with 729 on it and all that stuff. We'll get to it with Shea when we continue on AFR.
AFR.
If you're thinking of selling your home, you know what to do. Call Darren James and get your home sold. Wall Street Journal's list of the top 1% of realtors in America. Darren James is on it, number 13 in the country. Why in the world would you call anyone else? He's got new listings right now in Zachary, in Baton Rouge, in Denham, all over the place. You want to go check him out, you could do so. Agent225.com, agent225.com. And if you were thinking about selling your home, remember, working with Darren James obligates you to nothing. If at any point you're not thrilled with the level of customer service Darren is providing, fire him. He'll let you out of a contract free and clear. You're not going to get stuck in some long-term deal. But you know what? In the 2 decades that Darren has been dominating the real estate market in Baton Rouge, no one, not one ever, not one customer ever has taken him up on that offer, because the level of customer service Darren James provides is otherworldly. If you need to sell your home, you need the best, you need Darren James. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After Further Review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Following the whims of a 17-year-old. Easton Royal at 12:07 a.m. on July 26th. What was that, Sunday? So Saturday night into Sunday morning. He tweets 7:29, the date. That's it. No context, nothing. And then everybody blows up. 209,000 people have seen that tweet. Apparently that's his birthday. I think Easton Royal's just messing with everybody. Let's ask Shea Dixon if he has any insight. Hey, Shea, how are you?
You want to know what makes this way worse, Matt?
Please.
I already knew that was his birthday, so I didn't even react to the tweet. So when the rest of the work, and I have him on alerts, so it not only beeped, and I was like, oh no, like what's happening at this time of night? It must be an emergency. And then I saw what he tweeted, and I was like, that's just his birthday. Everybody's good. And I woke up to pure mayhem. Everybody was not good. And evidently in the lives of following, or I guess the realm of following the lives of a 17-year-old, I am out front there, because everybody else was like, he's definitely flipping. And I was like, he's definitely trolling everyone to celebrate his birthday.
That's where you're the best. Okay. The cryptic 729 tweet notwithstanding, what's the latest on Easton Royal? Because I seem to get asked this every day, and I just don't have an answer.
Yeah, for good reason, right? I mean, he is a 5-star plus prospect coming out of, meaning he's a 5-star on Rivals, ESPN 24/7, wherever you look. Number 1 receiver on Rivals, number 1 receiver on the Rivals industry rankings. So if you're at Brother Martin playing in the New Orleans area and you're carrying that lofty of a ranking, and we're heading into a new Kiffin era, I would imagine many people do ask you that, Matt. Same here. So join the club. Here's the answer. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think, look, is he going to do anything on his birthday? 7/29. Let's start there. That would be tomorrow. I don't think he will. I do think that this is one that plays out into August, maybe into the season, but further than the month of July, which initially we had thought like, okay, maybe he does shut things down this month, coming out of June's really busy stretch. I mean, remember, Texas is where he's committed, but he made the LSU official visit. Florida got an official visit and remains in contention here. And I was just talking with Sam Spiegelman from Rivals, and he's spent a lot of time in NOLA and living there, everything else, covering now Easton's recruitment. And this is one where we won't be surprised if he makes, like, is he going to be in Death Valley for the LSU Clemson game? Is he going to take in a game at the Swamp? Like, that won't surprise us if he's already been making unofficial visits to other schools beyond Texas and official visits. So it's obviously something to monitor moving forward. We're going to see if we can't catch up with Easton on his birthday or after to kind of get a feel for where things stand. But if you kind of put yourself in Texas's shoes, Matt, and all of this is happening, you wouldn't feel great about him staying committed. LSU's experienced this before. Look, DeCorian Moore, a guy like that was committed for a long time and ends up going elsewhere, headed to Oregon, actually. But I think in this case, ultimately, I would still pick LSU. I do think that is where he signs when December comes, but that is still a few months away here, right? We got to get through a whole football season. So I'm still predicting LSU, despite his Texas commitment. I just am not. Maybe everyone should just celebrate his birthday. I'm not sure you're going to get much more out of that beyond him turning one more year older.
Shea, Steve Wiltfong over at Rivals, but you and I didn't get to talk last week. I was at Media Days, but Steve Wiltfong did put in a prediction for Royal to flip to LSU. Can you maybe, I'm not asking you to speak for Steve, but walk through like how that works with the RPM and making predictions and what you make of Wiltfong's prediction?
Yeah, let me speak for Steve here, actually. His gut feel, I would say his educated guess here. Because when Steve was making the pick, it was one of those, hey, do we think it's going to drag out a little longer? And he had been saying, I think he ends up at LSU. And look, Steve, like Sam, is one of our national reporters. And Steve's always been the type who says, look, I want to predict where these guys go. I don't want to just put in a pick when I know for sure. Like, I want to put my, an educated guess out there and an informed one. And I think he had gotten enough info by that point to say, okay, I feel good about it. And this is where I'll jab Steve. He, of course, does that right before he goes on vacation. So, like, me and Sam are over here picking up the pieces of everyone being like, it's done. He's coming. And we're like, Steve, you need to come back from vacation. Everybody thinks that you know something that we don't. And the reality is, right now, I think only Easton and his mom and maybe his agent, Omalageta, they might be the ones who are in the know of where this actually goes. But I think that all three of us probably feel good about where things stand with LSU, obviously.
Shea, if they don't get Easton Royal, meaning LSU, and look, Monson Sales picked Indiana. Xavier Sabb was another highly rated guy they went after. He's at Oregon. Like, all the big fish would seemingly be off the board. Where do they go next for receiver if not Easton Royal?
I think this is one of the more intriguing things to talk about, because I do think that I'm sitting here telling you I think they ultimately get Easton Royal, but what if not? It's going to be. The plan is already, I believe, kind of being put into place that if that happens, if you are inching closer to signing day and Easton's not flipping, you're not pivoting to the guys you just mentioned, right? A number of out-of-state guys who are 5 stars, but that you aren't kind of getting in the NIL game for those guys. You're going to the transfer portal, and there are going to be some big names in the portal. Look, we know it. It happens every year. Texas went in on Cam Coleman and did kind of something similar a year ago. I think that for LSU, though, Matt, that's what I would point to. Could they come back around on another receiver, Miguel Whitley, for instance, who's committed to Ole Miss out of St. Aug, right? Sure, but I don't think that have anything to do with Easton Royal or his spot in the class. But Easton and his NIL kind of range for that type of player matches about where you're at with a portal prospect. So if it's not Easton and you've got yourself into December, well, then, hey, you're a few weeks out from saying, let's just take this money. And if we feel we need an instant impact receiver or someone on that level, we'll just go to the portal and get it. And I know what Lane has said. about kind of not so subtly, even talking about Cam Coleman maybe, but we didn't have to go all in on one guy, and I think that's true, but the roster's different every year. So maybe this year presents a situation. I'm speaking on this. I don't know what his plans are, but if they don't get Easton, that you've got a room. Is one or two guys out of the portal that we're really focused on. So I do think that there could come a time, Matt, where, and this could be it, like this type of situation where LSU spends big in the portal for a receiver.
It'd be fascinating if they went that route, as you mentioned, considering what Lane said about their sort of unwillingness to spend the top of the cap on one guy. Shea Dixon from On 3, the Bengal Tiger, at Shea Dixon is where you can get him. Shea, any more target? Like, they're going into a dead period in August, right? So
Still in one.
Any more targets that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, this is another good question, because it's almost as if it's starting to feel like okay, like what's left out there. And the reality is, I mean, look, I talked about flipping kids. So that's always a potential, but they've got, let me see, 16 commits. I thought that they would end with 20. So you're definitely going to add some guys we're not talking about right now. And there's 5-star Jalen Brewster, defensive lineman who's committed to Texas Tech, who hasn't come out and said anything about being firm with Tech and shutting it down, or, is LSU still the biggest threat here, which many have believed that has been the case over the summer months. So they'll stay in the mix there. And look, we've seen them surprise us with a number of these summer commitments from out of state that maybe we weren't talking as much about. So between flips, between late offers, between adding an Easton Royal or someone like that, I still think you can squeeze 4 commits out of this, and you could land at that 20 mark or be around it. That wouldn't be crazy at all to think. So I don't know, though. It's almost as if we're experiencing this all together, right? LSU fans and media, everybody, for the first time. Like, how much are they putting into portal, like the portal recruiting and the high school recruiting, the portal, and then high school recruiting again? Because I was talking with Josh Newberg at Rivals, who does all of our kind of video and sets up interviews and does interviews with the sites, and then gets the kids on to announce their commitments. And he was like, hey, if you've got any 2028 guys who want to come on and announce, let me know. I was like, y'all are doing 2028? I was like, yo, bro, I am in the Lane Kiffin era. I do not know many names in 2028. I am living for the moment. And then we get to the portal. Then we figure out kind of who those top guys are for the next class. And it's interesting, but that's kind of where we're at, because LSU would normally be in that group of teams. It's like, let's start popping guys for 2 years away. An example here, a quarterback who visited LSU and was very heavily considering him. I think he ends up at Clemson, but my point being, he's about to shut things down and announce this week, I think it was today or tomorrow, Trace Hawkins. Like, Dabo and them have always done this. They know what they want to do there. Lane and this staff have a different approach. They do not know who they want at quarterback after Peyton Houston, after they just took 3 portal quarterbacks who all have eligibility remaining beyond this year. And I think that's what they've told these quarterbacks. So even in, like, if we're talking about like dominoes to come for next year, like, that's the domino that drops earliest is quarterback, and they're not ready for that even. So I think we're just living in a different era of recruiting now, where you kind of are really focused on this class. You put the final pieces together, you get into the portal as you set up your next class, and then you go in again at it. Because before the month of June, what was it, Matt? We were sitting here like talking about how they had 4 commits. I mean, I think it was to start out the month of June, and then they had 16 by the end of it. So maybe this is the kind of the blueprint, right? Is that, hey, well, in the spring and summer, that's when we'll turn up the heat for the guys who are rising seniors. Until then, this new era of college athletics, and between retention, transfer portal, and recruiting high school, that high school sort of, not back burner, but high school slows down. You're not trying to build a 2028 class of rising juniors right now, and makes sense to me.
He's Shea Dixon, On 3, the Bengal Tiger, at Shea Dixon. Good enough to visit us, talk some Cruton here every Tuesday. Shady, we always appreciate you, man. Thanks for making time.
All right, Matt, good to talk to you.
Yep, you as well. Be well. Remember, success starts long before Saturday nights in Tiger Stadium. In the off-season, in recovery, and the work that happens between games and seasons, That's why Lane Kiffin and then players like Sam Levitt, speaking of quarterbacks, Whit Weeks, Trey Green, Jordan Seaton, they trust FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, with their health care. And that trust is backed by a health system that's growing, thriving, and serving communities across Louisiana and Mississippi. With more than 20,000 team members and a $5 billion network of care, FMOL Health has earned national recognition for quality, 2 exceptional workplace awards from Gallup, and continues to invest in the people and communities it serves. As LSU's championship health partner, the Lake helps care for student-athletes year-round, and that same expertise trusted by LSU is available to you and your family every day. FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, and LSU. Together, we roar. Learn more at fmolhealth.org/LSU. All right, thanks to Shea Dixon for joining us there. Yeah, it will be fascinating to see how this recruiting class finishes off, and I wouldn't be surprised if they finish under 20. Lane can continue to say that he wants to go recruit the best players in the country, best high school players in the country, and then attack the portal. And I believe that's true, but we've also seen it. Like, they are going, despite the fact that they spend a lot, they know they have a valuation on players and positions, and they're not going to go above positional value and valuation on that player to sign guys. We've seen it. I mean, we saw it with Albert Simeon. We've seen it, with some of the top with Dobson, the 5-star cornerback. Like, they know what they're willing to spend on certain positions, and that's it. So if they miss on Royal, it's just hard for me to imagine they're going to go in the portal and get next year's Cam Coleman and spend $3 million on a receiver. It's just not what they prioritize. So it'll be fascinating to see if they can get Easton Royal flipped in this class. All right, it's After Further Review. Tuesday shows are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We will knock out a break. We'll go around the SEC. Brian Kelly, his deal with CBS is now official, and BK made his SEC championship pick for this year. We'll let you hear it next. It's AFR.
AFR.
Love telling you about River City's 1 hour air. I was watching the news last night. Right, well, I was taking a shower, and Erica had it on in the bathroom, and it popped up like the weather for this week. And the heat index on Wednesday is 111. What? It's insane. Look, you walk outside and you can feel it. And right now it's 94 at 3:31 in the afternoon. But the bottom line is, it's dangerous to be stuck in that kind of heat and not have any relief or reprieve. So if your AC isn't keeping up, don't be uncomfortable. Make sure your family is cool and protected and has a safe environment to be in. Call River City's 1 hour air. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. They're always on time, or you don't pay a dime. They save you time. They save you money. It's River City's 1 hour air. Give them a buzz. 752-0001. 752-0001 for River City's 1 hour air. We're brought to you by ProForm Steel. If you are thinking of or need a metal building, you want ProForm Steel. Brandon Golson and his team, they're the best. Been in the industry. You know the name. Brandon Golson's on the state licensing board. This is his newest endeavor. Metal buildings built right from design to delivery. Lead times, you're talking about a month or two ahead of competitors. So you're going to get your building done quicker with expert engineering because everything is done in-house. That's why the lead times are quicker. And all of the materials, everything, made in the USA. It's ProForm Steel. ProFormLA.com. ProFormLA.com. If you want to request a quote, go to the website, top right, ProFormLA.com, and free delivery for any. Buy a building from them, they'll deliver it for free. ProFormLA.com. ProFormLA.com.
After Further Review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
A couple of weeks ago, Brian Kelly was a guest on the Undisputed,
The Independent.
It was something with an ND in it.
The Independent.
Well, I know the guys. It's Pete Sampson and Matt Fortuna. I knew one of the guys. But actually, the weird thing is, I've spoken to Matt. I've never spoken to Pete. And I thought Pete. I didn't think Matt, which is odd. Anyway, BK was on their Notre Dame podcast, and they were talking about him taking the CBS deal. And He was like, nope, haven't actually taken the CBS deal yet. It's not official out of a contract. And basically said, well, they just want to announce it. So he had a contract. They just wanted to announce it. Well, CBS did, in fact, announce it. Brian Kelly's first game he's going to call is North Dakota State against Jacksonville State. Whew. There will be better games ahead, no doubt. But no matter, I guess, your age, experience level as a coach, I'm going to start you on the bottom rung of the ladder, dog. I'm sure he'll get better games as the season goes along. We'll see, but I think it's Mountain West is primarily what he's going to be calling. So he'll be a game analyst and a studio analyst for CBS. And obviously, the good news for LSU is whatever the terms of his contract are, whatever that number is, you get mitigation on the LSU contract. So that $54 million buyout will be lessened. LSU's buyout will be lessened by whatever he's making at CBS. So something is better than nothing. So whatever that may be. And for whatever it's worth, Brian Kelly on Monday hopped on CBS Sports HQ and was asked, this was on Monday afternoon, and he was asked about the SEC and actually specifically about Texas, who's the team he thinks is the front runner in the league.
Last preseason, all of the talk was about Arch Manning. It's less about Arch, and I think that's a good thing. I think Coach Sarkisian has a really good football team from top to bottom. I think if Arch Manning continues his growth and plays to the level that he knows he's capable of, I think in year 2, he's a lot more comfortable. I think Texas is a team to beat.
So Brian Kelly likes Texas. He and I share that in common. I did have Texas at the top with Georgia second. I had Oklahoma third, LSU fourth. Georgia feels like the most obvious choice just when you look at the schedule. Texas, a much more difficult schedule, but I think Texas does have the most talented roster in the SEC, both with what they return and what they brought in. Obviously, Arch Manning, Colin Simmons. We talked about Cam Coleman coming in from Auburn. I think that roster is probably the most talented, but the schedule is going to be more daunting for Texas. It really is about getting past Ohio State in week 2. If you get past Ohio State in week 2, then you can look to the rest of the schedule and go, okay, well, then you've got a game at Tennessee, an open date, then you play the neutral site against Oklahoma. You're home against Florida, home against Ole Miss, home against Mississippi State, should be favored in all of those. And then in November, at Missouri, at LSU, Arkansas, at A&M. Even if you split LSU, A&M on the road, let's say you split or you find a way to go 3-1 in the stretch of Tennessee, Oklahoma, Florida, Ole Miss, well, then you're a 10-2 team and you're in the playoff, very likely in the SEC championship game as well. So I do like Texas this year. I think they're a contender. I mean, they've got the roster to be. I think of Texas very similarly to how I look at LSU this year. When you have that type of investment in the roster, you should be good. The same way that you and I are talking about LSU. $50 million roster, Sam Levitt from Arizona State, Seton $4 million, left tackle, Uman Miel, and $1 million edge rusher. All the stuff, right? You retain Tradez, you retain Braylon Moore, you retain Weeks, you get Ty Benefield, you retain DJ Pickett, Harlem Berry, all the talent. I get it, it's a tough schedule, but you have all this talent, you should be in a playoff. I think the same about Texas. So kind of think of them sort of what Brian Kelly likes Texas to win the SEC. All right, it's after further review. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Brought to you by Parish Restoration. If you have a water spot on your ceiling, chances are, even if you just noticed it today, the leak didn't start today. And so if you think of the cumulative effect of that leak in your attic over days, weeks, months, maybe, well, it's been wet and humid up there for days, weeks, months. That's a breeding ground for mold. So you may have mold and not even know it. You could have mold in your wall, closets, places in your home you don't see. If you do or think you might, call Parish Restoration. They'll come spray their patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. Go to parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. By the way, not only just your home, they've dry fogged some of the largest commercial buildings in the state of Louisiana. So from your home to your office to church, school, doctor's office, gym, workout facility, whatever type of building, have mold, think you might, or you want to sanitize your space, Parish Restoration can help. Parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. Okay, we do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Kentucky Wildcats.
Wildcats have added a second JUCO running back Listen, a week after adding Amir Smith from Garden City Community College, they're signing Jordan Colbert out of Fresno City College, 6'2", 215. He's from Fresno, the nation's number 364 athlete, has 3 years to play three. Just 1 year this past season at the JUCO level, ran for 602 yards. Jordan Colbert heading to Lexington.
The Missouri Tigers.
Missouri defensive lineman Sterling Webb has filed a lawsuit against the NCAA seeking a fifth year of eligibility. This after the NCAA adopted its new 5-for-5 age-based eligibility model. So they have a roster spot open for Webb if, in fact, he's able to get the extra year of eligibility. Webb played in all 13 games for Missouri last year with 8 starts. Mizzou's fall camp begins next week, so we'll keep you posted.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Peter Lexick has joined Chris Beard's Ole Miss staff. He's a former international player and current international coach. He's joining Ole Miss's staff under Chris Beard. They worked together 10 years ago, back in 2014, when they were on staff at the Switzerland national team. Now they reunite in Oxford. A Switzerland, Oxford. Not the same. I feel one of the assistant roles vacated by Bob Donewald and Wes Flanagan when they left for opportunities this offseason.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
And John Calipari's Hoop Squad is going to play Virginia in Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. next season. That's according to the Bracketeers website, who had it first. Don't know what the Bracketeers is, but seems legit. Two teams have played 7 times in their history. The last time was back in 1998 in Fairbanks, Alaska. Virginia is Arkansas's second ACC opponent. Hogs will play in Chapel Hill as part of the SEC ACC Challenge. Okay, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. Tuesday shows are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. SunnyQuip.com, SunnyQuip.com. Y'all, we're getting close to tailgate season. Yes, they got tractors and combines, all your farm equipment, but they also have zero-turn mowers and gators. But remember, you go into Sunshine, they have portable generators. So if you need your portable generator to power your tailgate, we're a little more than a month away, man, from LSU and Clemson. Get by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. All right, it's after further review. We're going to knock out a quick break. Come back. Saints report today. They'll hit the practice field tomorrow. Kool-Aid McKinstry had a few comments on NFL Spotlight with Ari Myrov. Let you hear that. Mickey Loomis met with reporters earlier today. We'll get to that here in about 17 minutes from right now. Jeff Duncan will be here in hour 3. We got a ton to do. Football's upon us, y'all, and I'm fired up for it. Stay here. It's AFR.
After further review.
We have a video coming over on the Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness social media. I went a couple of weeks ago and visited with Gabe Guerrero over at Goodwood, and we demonstrated a new piece of equipment that they have there. It's basically a chair. It's called the Emsala. There's nobody else in town has it. One session on Emsala is like doing 11,000 Kegel exercises. The intention is to strengthen your pelvic floor. So for men who might have ED, this is one of the alternate treatments. But not just that. Men who maybe struggle with, or women who struggle with incontinence. It's very common for men who've had prostate cancer and struggle with incontinence. This is something that could help. It's an alternative, and it's worth looking into. It's part of a comprehensive healthcare solution over at Goodwood. Yes, they do ED treatments. They also have hormone replacement therapy, peptide therapy. Learn more at yourgoodwood.com. Right there on Drusilla in Baton Rouge. yourgoodwood.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
In the hot summer sun, over by the gate, Lordy, here
I definitely feel like we're a team to tune in to, man. I feel like we're very special. Like I was just saying with the offense we got, man. I feel like we got a lot of great guys over there, a great system. Coach Kellen Moore do a good job in the offensive coaches, and also on defense, man. I feel like we're gonna bring that same swagger we finished the year with, man. And I feel like we're going to be very, very, very special as a team, man. I'm very excited going into this year. I can't stop smiling about this team. I'm definitely happy to be with these guys and see these guys.
Kool-Aid McKinstry entering year 3 with the New Orleans Saints. Was a guest on NFL Spotlight with Ari Myrov. Thinks the Saints team is going to be special, and that's kind of a familiar refrain. A day ago, we had a chance to visit with Lance Moore, and he just raved about the player-led workouts with Tyler Shuck, veteran, and Chris Olave, young guys like Barry Brown and Bryce Lance coming in. One of the things I just keep looking at for the New Orleans Saints that I keep jogging my memory as we're sort of getting back into football mode is the defense from a season ago. And the New Orleans Saints a year ago were 9th in the NFL in total defense. They were 4th in pass defense, 9th in rush defense. Now, they were 16th in scoring, but some of that was like the total abomination that happened in Seattle, where you were giving up touchdowns in every phase of the game, punt returns, defensive scores, everything. But Kool-Aid McKinstry is someone I think this year that has for the Saints to replicate or improve upon the defensive performance from a year ago in year one under Brandon Staley has got to improve dramatically. A year ago, we saw Kool-Aid, after Paulson Adebo left for the Giants, Kool-Aid stepped into one of those starting corner roles opposite Alontae Taylor. And he was good, not great. As a rookie, his overall PFF grade was a 61. His coverage grade was a 67. It's pretty good. Last year, in his second year, his overall grade was a 69. His coverage grade was a 71. So he did improve year over year. I still look at Kool-Aid McKinstry, though, and I don't see a player that goes out on the field when you're going to face Seattle and you see JSN, or you're going to face Cincinnati and you see Jamar, or you're going to go up against one of the elite level receivers in the NFL. You're facing the Rams and there's Puka Nacua, and you go, okay, you got him. I don't think Kool-Aid McKinstry has proven he is that guy. And the numbers kind of bear it out. Look, his coverage grade against Seattle last year was a 27. Against New England, it was a 35. At the Rams, it was a 40.7. I mean, he had some awful performances. Now, the flip side of it is, in the game in the Dome against the Giants, he graded out an 84. Against the Dolphins on the road, an 81. Against the Jets, an 84. Now, I also just mentioned 3 of the worst teams in the NFL with awful quarterback play. But against Seattle, New England, 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl, by the way, the Rams, it was not good. He's got to be better against the best. Because in the last 2 years, you've let Adebo walk in free agency to the Giants and Alontae Taylor walk in free agency to the Titans. Now, I'm good not paying Alontae Taylor like a top 10 corner in the NFL or top 5 corner in the NFL like the Titans did. Good, let them pay him. I was not good with the Saints not addressing cornerback this offseason. So my hope is in year 3, Kool-Aid McKinstry takes a huge step forward. And he was asked on this podcast with Ari Myrov about stepping into that CB1 role this year.
With that going on, it's just time for me to check into being a leader and lead by example first. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure I'm doing all the right stuff, doing it the way it need to be done, doing it exactly the way the coaches want to be doing. So I feel like that's the first thing that I got to do is, lead by example. Then after that, I can be a vocal leader towards the guys and help them and bring them right along with me. But I feel like first I just got to go in and show that I'm willing to do whatever for this team and do whatever for this coach staff just so we can get over this hump.
One of the things he's got to do is tackle. In each of his 2 seasons in the NFL, his PFF tackling grade is a 44. That's abysmal. And Ari asked him about that.
Man, I'm a team player. It's no such thing as a business decision in my mind. I feel like tackling is definitely a want to, and that's something I want to do. Like, if you know me, my friends, like, I'm a very tough guy. Like, that's just me. So, like, tackling, like, I love it. Like, I embrace it. Like, that's the main thing I talk about. Like, when I go to these kid camps, I go to the tackling drill before I go anywhere else. Like, I make sure that kids know, like, tackling is important. Like, if you can't tackle, you better go on the offense side of the ball. Like, and it don't hurt. I ain't gonna lie, it don't hurt. Just go do it. Go hard. Like, just go try it.
Wanting to do it and being good at doing it are 2 different things. He's got to get better at doing that. Had 13 missed tackles in his second year in New Orleans. Got to be better. Got to be better there. And one more, I do always find it interesting. I think sometimes defensive players have the best perspective of an offense because they're the ones that go against in practice every day and they can see it. And they just know what they're looking at and what's difficult to defend, like getting a defensive player's perspective on an offense. And We've talked a lot this offseason about New Orleans improving the skill on offense. Jordan Tyson, Oscar Delp, Travis Etienne. I can go down the list. But what does Kool-Aid think about the Saints offense?
Man, it's a lot. We got a lot of explosive guys over there, man. I'm excited to see it myself, man. I'm excited to compete against it. I feel like that's my first goal going into camp is shutting that offense down that they got, man. They so explosive. They got great players over there. They got great guys with everyone got their own difference to them. Everyone got their own kick to it, and I love that about them, man. And I really feel like they loaded over there. I feel like they're gonna be very explosive.
Saints offense has a long way to go from a year ago when they were in the bottom third of the NFL in total offense at 313 yards per game, and they averaged just 18 points per game last season. Only the Jets, Titans, Browns, and Raiders scored fewer points per game than New Orleans. They've given look, now this is going to be all Tyler Shuck, and they've given him the weapons to be great. See if they can do it. But a huge part of the season has got to be the defense in year 2 under Brandon Staley improving upon what they were, or matching or improving upon what they were able to do a year ago. And the onus is going to be on Kool-Aid McKinstry being CB1. We'll see if he can do it. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. We are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Mickey Loomis met with reporters a bit ago in New Orleans on the eve of the Saints kicking off training camp. We'll let you hear some of what the GM had to say. We got tons of college stuff I still want to get to as well. I want to give you my best Heisman picks, my best Heisman value picks that we'll get to. And a jarring story about LSU legend Lolo Jones. If you haven't seen this story, we're going to dive into that as well. Stick around. Hour 2 is next on AFR.
After Further Review.
If you're thinking of buying a car, make sure you put Volkswagen on your list. And if you put Volkswagen on your list, go see my friends at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, or online at southpointvw.com. Southpointvw.com. That's the website. Remember, the 4th of July savings. Matt, 4th of July? That was like literally 3 weeks ago. Yes, but the 4th of July savings go all month. And now we're at the end of the month. And the end of the month is the best time typically to buy a vehicle because you got to move inventory at the end of the month. And you still have these great deals like 2026 Atlas, 0.9% for 60 months. It's 5 years, basically free money on a brand new Volkswagen Atlas. South Point Volkswagen, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. They have the best selection, the best prices, and the best people. Just put Volkswagen on your list and go see my friends at South Point Volkswagen. SouthPointVW.com. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction?